So this next portion of our session is focused on self-soothing and choosing settled, still behavior without any direct feedback from his handler. So this is directly after our outdoor play session, some high energy interactive work. And now I am working on putting together some paperwork for another stay and train that I worked with earlier today, and asking him to just exist in the down with me, preferably with rolled hips, which he does have rolled hips right now. One thing that Mr. Moose, likes to do is noodle. And I call it noodling because the movement serves no other purpose than to try and gain your attention. He'll rock his hips, he'll sniff, he'll start huffing a little bit harder. Right there, he just rolled his hips again. And it has no other purpose. He's wagging his tail too. All of these are attention-seeking behaviors. They're attention-seeking movements. No other purpose than to try and gain feedback from me. And my goal, while I'm sitting here, intentionally not looking at him, not giving him any kind of feedback that's familiar, is to wait for those moments of stillness and, better yet, inattention. Like right there. He chose to kind of look down, do a little sniff at a toy that's next to him. I have a dental chew down there too, and I'd love it. I would really love it if he could just pick that dental chew up and just start going to town on that. Just show me that he's willing to shift his focus and his energy and his attention to something else besides me. Another thing that might be holding his attention pretty strongly is the tree pouch that I currently have around my waist. He does love him some kibble. So one thing that you won't hear me doing during this period of our session is using my marker of YEP. And the reason I'm withholding that marker is because I don't want him to shift back into work mode. And that happens pretty often now that he's very familiar with the marker. When he hears it, he starts trying to do things. He starts trying to figure out what I want from him next. And right now, all I want from him is to be still and to maybe stop heavy panting and to just look away from me, away from the reinforcers like that. Good job. While I shift my focus to another activity as well. So I'm going to just exist with him here. I'm going to type out a couple of sentences, see what he's able to do for me, and then periodically reinforce with food. You might hear me drop some of the kibbles on the floor. Again, that's trying to encourage him to shift his focus away from me, away from my hands, and to his immediate surroundings. Not with the goal of engaging with them, just with existing, just acknowledging them, looking at them, but not feeling the need to get himself involved. So this is another activity that can really help overcome reactivity by withholding any kind of reinforcement whenever Moose chooses to engage with me somehow. And this allows him to have opportunities to stop and process other input, other stimuli that he sees and hears and smells in his environment, and get reinforced for that, for just acknowledging those new stimuli in his environment without me having to coach him through it. Usually when we're working through a reactivity scenario, I'm using the marker really heavily for anything that is not reactive, any behavior that I like that is not an overt reaction. He just settled back into a down. I think he might be out of frame at this point, so I'm going to try and let you know what he's doing. But his choices, that's what I'm acknowledging here. And it does require kind of a little bit of peripheral control here because I don't want to let him know that I'm heavily focused on him. There we go. And this is the real test here, because we just had a client walk in. And so I'm trying to not coach him, but also coach him through the fact that there is a new person, there is a stranger, quote unquote, in his environment now. But he does not need to feel like he has to get himself involved in that. He does not need to yell about it. There we go. Instead, he can just exist with me in this space and watch the world. There's also apparently a dog that is panting, and that is another challenge for him that we're going to work through here. But I'm going to still withhold any markers unless he starts making a lot of really bad choices here. There we go. Good boy. Good job. Good boy. Good job. Down. Settle. Yep. Here's this. I'm not doing it. Alright, so he's finally decided he's totally cool engaging with this dental chew, which is really great. That indicates to me that he is truly ready to just settle in and entertain himself, and he doesn't feel like he has to be on watch or hypervigilant about any of the additional distractions that are present in his environment right now. You might be able to hear there's a dog kind of huffing and chuffing outside of our workspace here. So there is another dog and another person in our environment, but he feels totally safe and content to work on his high value item here, this dental chew. Good job, buddy.